This presentation is on social media for advocacy, intermediate concepts and use of social networking. This training is made possible by a grant from the Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council through the Disability Advocacy Support Hub, a project of the Disability Rights Network of Pennsylvania. What is social media? Social media are websites or applications that use social networking. It's interactive media published and shared via the internet or mobile communication device. Essentially, it's anything that we share that has an interactive component with other people. Now, why is social media important? The internet and social networking are cost-effective tools that will allow an organization to market their message. And 90% of what organizations are going to be doing with social networking is actually going to be free. Social networking also allows you to reach a broader audience that you typically wouldn't be able to reach using traditional methods. Facebook alone has 800 million users currently worldwide. That's a jump from only 50 million in 2007. That's a 94% increase in just 5 years. Twitter also has 100 million users, and the majority of these users are accessing their account using a mobile device, which means they're taking their social network with them everywhere they go. They can be out on the road and receive a notification and share it instantly, and it allows you to get that message out there and get it spread a lot more easily. Now, from July 2011 to July 2012, the use of social media has increased 37%. It's the kind of increase that you're not going to see using a television advertisement. Typically, from year to year, the same number of people will be watching a television show and see that advertisement. Also, any digital communication will essentially show everyone in the same light. That means it's going to level the playing field, so to speak. It gives more importance to the words that are being said and less importance to those who are saying it. So who uses social media? Believe it or not, nearly every internet user uses social media whether they realize it or not. And that's because business websites, news outlets, charities, nonprofits, government organizations, and any other organization that just wants to get a message out are starting to include a social component in their own website. In fact, a lot of them actually tie into YouTube or Facebook in some way. For example, the Pennsylvania State Legislature. On their main page, there's an icon for Twitter in the upper right-hand corner. When you click on it, it brings you to their Twitter feed. The White House website, whitehouse.gov, also has a news and a Twitter component tied in together on the right-hand side of the web page. And next to those is an advertisement for the White House mobile applications so that you can download and install and carry the White House information with you everywhere you go. So what can social networking do? Well, it allows organizations to organize or spread petitions or share video and audio or just a story or just generally get the conversation started. Now, all these things can contribute to your group's mission, help with your fundraising campaigns, educate your constituents, provide outreach, or help you become an advocate for social change, helps you bring awareness to an issue. Essentially, the possibilities are endless if you can imagine it. A recent example of how social media has been used was the Arab Spring movement that spread through the Middle East and Africa. Social media tools were used to spread video and pictures of some of the protests, but also allowed users to get information out. And it gave them influence internationally, but also allowed some of the journalists on the ground to cover something that was very unique. The protests started in Tunisia, but because of some of the social media tools that were being used, it quickly spread. It got as far as Egypt and even all the way to Syria. The dramatic images that were posted directly from the protests were unique to the users posting them. This sort of imagery has become a powerful utility in social networking. In 2011, the Occupy Wall Street movement began, and that spread to other Occupy movements around the country. These Occupy movements used Skype and YouTube to broadcast feeds from the live-in protests on Wall Street, around the United States, and beyond. What initially started on Wall Street in New York quickly spread all around the country, and eventually even to other countries as well. These Occupy movements were often set up with Wi-Fi connections, so that video content could easily be uploaded. In 2008 and 2012, the presidential campaigns for Barack Obama utilized social media more than the competition, with a record "Get Out the Vote" message. There was even a section on the Facebook page to take donations. The Obama campaigns in the current administration have been ahead of the rest with their online presence. Starting early gives you time to work out a strategy and prepare for when you truly need the community ready. Now that we know why we want to use social media, it's time to start thinking about what we're going to do with it. What is your goal, and how is it going to help your organization? What are the actions and outcomes that you want to achieve? This essentially means that you need to consider your objectives. Having clear objectives helps you measure the performance of your social media strategy. You also need to think about your target audience. Who is your primary target? The target audience for the Nike webpage on Facebook would probably be different than the target audience for a shoe company making leather Oxfords. How does your target audience make decisions? Where are they located geographically? Are they in the United States? Are they in Canada? What websites are they using? What are their needs? Do they need something to wear when they go out jogging? Or do they actually need something to wear to the office? Once an interim strategy has been developed, then choose a tool or several tools to use. After using them for a time, an analysis of those tools will help you refine your strategy for the long term. We will talk more about analysis a little bit later. However, you need to keep in mind that whatever strategy you create now is going to evolve over time. The strategy of today isn't going to be the same strategy of 5 years from now. Next, we'll begin discussing using some of the social media tools. We'll start with blogs and microblogs. Blogs have been around for a while, so many organizations are already using them, but if you're not, it's a good place to start with social media. Blog is short for weblog. Essentially, it's an article. These articles can be either short or they can be extensive. And many organizations are starting to realize that it's a good replacement for email newsletters. See, the average consumer is getting overwhelmed with the amount of email they receive in their inbox, and they're less likely to pay attention to an email newsletter that they've been receiving for several years. Many blogs are run by content management systems that can also run many other functions of a website. A lot of organizations are using these content management systems to integrate a blog or other social media tools with their website. And these blogs are often spread through Facebook and Twitter. Next, we'll discuss video management. And this can be done on sites such as YouTube or Vimeo, and will allow users to upload video or create picture slideshows. And doing this allows their users to show their topic, which can evoke more emotions than just words. And then in turn, these videos are spread through powerhouse websites such as Facebook and Twitter. Next, we have Facebook. As we discussed before, Facebook reaches the most users with 800 million active accounts. As such, what a lot of users end up doing is they use their Facebook status update to spread other social media. That user can create a blog or upload a video on another website and then post the link to it through their status update. However, Facebook wants users to use Facebook as a destination. So in 2012, they increased the length of the post so that users are able to use their status update almost like a blog. But either way, the power of Facebook is that it allows users to discuss their message. It's much more interactive than most other social media outlets. Facebook has several different ways for an organization to spread their message. There's now Facebook Causes. Facebook launched Causes as a way to utilize the social media site to make a difference. The Nonprofit Partner Center allows for chapters to maintain their information by using causes.com. Now that Facebook has launched Causes, you may be wondering, do I want a cause or do I want a page? According to Facebook, in general, pages are a more formal presence to share information about the organization with the larger public audience. More than 22,000 nonprofits currently have a presence using Facebook pages. Essentially, this is your center of information. Facebook Causes is an application that allows users to organize themselves into communities of action that support specific issues, campaigns, or nonprofit organizations. So, what you would essentially want to do is begin with a Facebook page and then launch causes from there. You could have more than one cause, all linking to the same Facebook page. And finally, we have Twitter, which is one of the most active out of all of the social networks. Part of the reason for this, as we discussed before, was that the majority of users are logging in using a mobile device, which means they can take it with them everywhere they go. And this fits right in with the text generation because of the 140 character limit on a Twitter message. This is exactly the same number as a text message. But the power of Twitter is that it allows users to inform what they're doing and where they're doing it. When it comes to discussing social media results, people often say something is going viral. This means that your message is passing from person to person. It can happen with an effective use of social media, and essentially it's what we want to happen. If your message spreads from person to person, it can reach a much broader audience. When starting to use social media tools for your website, you may be wondering who is going to be responsible. Studies have shown that many organizations don't have staff specifically tasked with their online operations. Instead, each associate is responsible for integrating social media into their daily work. Next, we move on to some tips for using social media. First, be timely with important event postings so that your message isn't left behind. Essentially, there may be some other organizations in a similar field as yours, and if they're posting some of the same news that you would be posting, but theirs is getting out there quicker, they might find more interest. Don't just repost the same information that you're sending out by another medium, such as email. If you're continuing to send out email newsletter and people are still reading it, don't just repost all the same information on Facebook because people might see it as oversaturation. Next, post regularly. Studies show that most social media postings are read in the morning and the afternoon. If you can keep consistent with that, your message might get out there a little bit easier. Make sure your blogs and posts have personality. If you're just posting up news, eventually some of your readers might get a little disinterested. Keep an open dialogue to ensure that you're meeting the needs of your user base. Respond on some of the comment posts on your postings. And respond again. Keep an eye on some of those posts so that you can respond to them appropriately. Develop your initial strategy as a baseline for analyzing your results. Sites like Facebook and Twitter have limits to the length of a post. Sometimes it's helpful to use a URL shortener like bit.ly.com. Let's say you've just typed up a post on your blog. If you look up in the address bar, the URL for that can actually be rather long. If you copy that and paste it into bit.ly.com, it will give you something that looks like bit.ly / and a 6-letter character combination. Essentially, clicking on that shortened URL will get you to your blog in the longer URL. This is very useful for any website that has a length limit to the posts, and it also makes it easier for it to spread. Next comes analyzing the social media. Knowing your audience. In any business, analyzing the results is important in knowing the effectiveness. Analysis helps with developing a long-term strategy. Trends show what your user base is interested in and what they will respond to. For any social media outlet that you choose to use, it's important to review the results of what you've posted. In the business sense, this is analyzing your return on investment. Keep track of how many likes or comments you receive on your posts and how many times your videos have been viewed. It's important because if your goal is to raise awareness, you can start to measure that by the amount of engagement you receive. In addition, there are analytics tools that are specific to social media. These are websites that will allow you to connect to your social networking account, and it will analyze the data for you. This is important because not only will it allow you to get a baseline for what you're accomplishing with the social media account, but you can then take that data offline and compare it to other metrics that you may have, such as number of phone calls received or the amount of website traffic you receive on your main website. Some of these sites are Google Analytics, Clout, Social Mention, and TweetReach. With any method of gathering your metrics, most industry experts agree that there are several specific metrics to watch for. One of these is engagement rate. This is going to be the number of likes and comments that you receive compared to the fan count or your following. Another is reach. This is going to be your overall audience. It'll include the fans or followers that you have, but it will also grow to include all of those that receive a shared or retweeted copy of your message. You can also keep an eye on whether or not your fan base is growing or shrinking. Another is referral traffic. This is important because if you know where your traffic is coming from and whether they're doing a particular thing when they get to your page, you'll know whether you're driving traffic from or to the correct spot. And finally, overall influence. There are a lot of companies that can track the overall influence that you have in your industry, and one of these is Clout. This basically is a snapshot of you getting your message out there versus the others that are doing the same. These tools can be found at the following locations. For example, with tweetreach.com, you can see how far your tweet has traveled. Simply type in the link to your Twitter feed and see the results. When it comes to analyzing social media, sometimes it's important to keep things in mind such as slacktivism. But what is slacktivism? This is when people sign petitions or repost without becoming actively involved. While they may be a follower, and they may be retweeting some of the things that you have posted, they're not helping out with the organization by donating or attending rallies or even volunteering for particular activities. How does it affect analysis? It just means that sometimes the number of followers may not indicate actual participants. The long-term strategy. Once some analysis has been done, it's time to revise your strategy for using social media more effectively. The initial strategy will not be the long-term strategy. Now that you've followed this presentation, what are some next steps? If you haven't already done so, go out and sign up for some social sites and integrate them into your daily business. Keep an eye on newer social media sites, such as Google+. Also, keep an eye on some of the traditional media sources, such as CNN, to see newer trends. On the CNN homepage, there's a section called Popular on Facebook. Someday that may say Popular on Google+, or Popular on Twitter. Keep an eye on it. And finally, have fun with social media. Remember, social media is not a replacement for traditional advocacy methods. It's a tool to enhance those advocacy efforts.